Welcome into the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, as always, we appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. And on the show, players the Niners could trade for post-June 1. They've opened up some financial capital, and going into Tuesday, before the Christian McCaffrey contract extension, the Niners had $25.2 million in available cap space. And a lot of people think that now the Niners have dwindling cash. It's not the case. Even though McCaffrey is set to make an average annual value of $19 million on that 2-year extension, which takes him through 2027, it actually frees up $8+ million in cap space over the next 4 years. So that $25.2 million number could actually increase, giving the 49ers even more money. It's a fluid situation as far as the financials, so bear with us there. Let's get to our trade targets. Trade target number 1 is Budda Baker, current safety with the Arizona Cardinals. Why Budda is intriguing to me, on the defensive side of the football, this is a Swiss Army knife on defense that you can literally use anywhere, like a chess piece as part of your defense for Nick Sorensen. And the Niners right now have a very deep roster. They have prioritized fortifying the depth on their football team this offseason. They are a little bit thin at the safety spot, though. And Talanoa Hufanga is coming off that torn ACL. When will he come back? He does continue to rehab, and all signs point to him being able to make a full recovery. But when is he going to be able to return? And Budda Baker has been a spectacular player in all 7 seasons that he's been in the NFL. 6 Pro Bowls and 3 All-Pros in 7 seasons. There has been durability up until last year, consistency, and elite play from Budda Baker. Now, why he could get dealt by Arizona, I get it would be inside this division. He's on an expiring deal. So the Cardinals could look to get some value back for a player who, if they let him walk in free agency, they get nothing in return. Before the McCaffrey contract extension, I had Miles Sanders on this list, and you could still bring in Miles Sanders as a backup running back. Of course, McCaffrey is going to tote the rock again to the fullest extent in 2024 as he led the NFL in touches in 2023. But that backup running back spot has some question marks. Miles Sanders would be a very good backup to CMC. Elijah Mitchell, the backup right now, always has injury concerns. And on top of that, what if an injury were to happen to Isaac Guerendo, Jordan Mason, Patrick Taylor, or Cody Schrader? Miles Sanders could be a very affordable running back who last year in free agency signed a huge deal with Carolina, but there are always salary cap gymnastics that you can pull off, and if he were to get cut, you could sign him to a pretty affordable deal. Last year for the Panthers, he was not good, and I think a big reason for that, the offensive line play with Carolina was terrible. So because of that, the run game was bad. Bryce Young really struggled. They had no weapons to go to in the pass game. So teams just stacked the box. They terrorized Bryce Young all last year, and Miles Sanders never got going. 129 carries, 432 yards, 3.3 yards per carry, and only 1 touchdown. He cashed in because what he did with Philadelphia the season prior, he was awesome. Top 5 in rushing yards among all running backs. That came on 259 carries, and he found the end zone 11 times. He has the ability to break big plays off at any moment because of his elusiveness, but also the breakaway speed. And the writing could be on the wall for him to get let go because the Panthers drafted Texas running back Jonathan Brooks in round 2, and he looks to be the future running back for Carolina. Trade target number 3, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, a current 3rd-string quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Could the Niners here bring in a developmental, intriguing young quarterback who I think has a lot of potential? The Niners did have interest in him coming out of UCLA in the pre-draft process going into the 2023 draft. He would give San Francisco that intriguing, young, dual-threat developmental prospect who they can groom under this offensive-heavy coaching staff. And are you convinced that Josh Dobbs, Brandon Allen, or Tanner Mordecai are the answers at backup quarterback? You bring in a player like DTR with the throwing ability combined with the running ability. the age, the experience that he had at UCLA, and the athlete that he is, the potential that he has, he'd become an intriguing backup quarterback for San Francisco. And he could get traded because what did the Browns do this offseason? After Joe Flacco led them to the playoffs after replacing Deshaun Watson, they signed Jameis Winston to be their top backup. How about John Cominsky of the Detroit Lions? This is an edge rusher who I've had my eyes on for quite a while because I think there's a better player in there, and he hasn't fully tapped into his potential. What did the Niners do? The Niners do a great job under Chris Kocurek, best defensive line coach in the NFL, of maximizing defensive linemen. We're talking about a player here who's 6'5", 285 pounds, former fourth-round pick by the Atlanta Falcons. He's been somewhat disappointing given that size and physical ability, only 7.5 sacks in 5 years. And I always think that a team's actions, what they do, it speaks volumes. The Lions signed Marcus Davenport to kind of be that other edge rusher opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. And Chris Kocurek could unlock Cominsky. We've seen him do it with a countless number of players, from Arden Key, Jordan Willis, Charles Omenihu. I think that he could do the same with Cominsky. And given that size, he could also fit what the Niners look for in edge rushers who can also slide to the inside and play a little bit of defensive tackle. And I'll tell you this, you can never have enough edge rushers. And you look at this photo. Drake Jackson put this on his Instagram story of him recovering from his knee surgery. He's still coming back from that injury that he suffered last year. This looks like a very severe knee injury. It's also pretty rare. I'm not a doctor, obviously. I'm a talk show host talking about the NFL and the NBA daily here on the airwaves of Chat Sports. I'm not a doctor, but that is a weird placement for a surgery where it's on the quad going into the kneecap. Who knows when Drake Jackson is going to be able to come back? Now, you have Yetur Gross-Matos, you have Robert Beal as backup edge rushing options. But can we count on Drake Jackson to be ready for the season? Let alone, can we count on him to contribute this year? If not, you could look into edge rusher depth via the trade market. And sticking with edge rusher, that brings us to Preston Smith of the Green Bay Packers. Another player who the Niners could look to trade for here. He's a lot more accomplished and has put up a lot more production as compared to Cominsky. He's also older, though. 31 years old, has at least 8 sacks in 4 of his last 5 years. His lone double-digit sack season came in 2019. The issue with Preston Smith is the cap hit. And the cap hits. $14.5 million, $17.5 million, and $17.5 million over the next 3 years. But that production has been pretty consistent. 2020, not great. But 2021 all the way through 2023, there's been that model of consistency. At least 8 sacks in those 3 straight seasons to go along with some TFLs and a good amount of quarterback hits. Be sure to subscribe to the show because we have you covered with daily coverage of the Niners right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. And if you want to stay in the know with all of the moves that the Niners make, some rumors that are out there, and of course be alerted when breaking news goes down, we got you covered here on the show. Hit that sub button. Father's Day is coming up. And if your dad is one of your heroes, somebody who you look up to, and you absolutely love him, and he's a Niners fan, these shirts are awesome. Number 1 Dad Niners shirts available right now. Limited time only for just $26 at chatsports.com/49dad. All thanks to our friends at Fanatics. So you plug in that link, you get that discount. Also, a lot of good sale items available if you plug in that link down below. Now to our next wave of trade targets for the Niners, and we're going to go offensive line heavy because that's the biggest need on this Niners team. My dream target, it's Tristan Wirfs of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's seeking a contract extension. If he doesn't get that, he could hold out of mandatory minicamp, potentially of training camp. When he does get that new deal, he is poised to become one of the highest paid offensive tackles in the NFL right now. And he could play right tackle now, but then once Trent Williams decides to retire, you move Tristan Wirfs, who started at right tackle coming out of Iowa, and has since moved to left tackle, back to left tackle to take over for Trent Williams. And that's just a great plan in my eyes if I was running football ops for the Niners. Wirfs is a very elite offensive tackle in the sport. In 2023, overall Pro Football Focus grade of 81.1, pass blocking grade of 84.3, run blocking grade of 72.2, 6 penalties, 5 sacks allowed, 6 hits, 24 pressures. I would say he didn't play up to his fullest potential, but we've seen him play at that rate a lot before. Cam Robinson, another left tackle who you'd have to move to right tackle, but another intriguing player here who is not going to cost as much as trading for Tristin Wirfs. You're not going to have to give him that lofty contract extension, even though he has 1 year left on his deal, and you're not going to have to give up as much for an older player who's not as good as Wirfs. But Robinson still making a hefty payday. 1 year left on his deal, $16.5 million. Huge size, 6'6", 335. A good history of being a pass blocker. He does need to get a little bit better with his run blocking. And under Kyle Shanahan, we know it is of the utmost importance to be able to be a good run blocker in that offense. And that's an area in which Cam Robinson has struggled a little bit. The Alabama product last year, down year for his standards. Overall Pro Football Focus grade of 65.4, but a pass blocking grade of 78.8. And we just came off a 2023 season in which Colton McKivitz gave up 47 pressures. Run blocking grade of 51. That is not good. Snaps played at left tackle, 525. 13 pressures, 2 hits, 3 sacks given up. And those numbers are not bad. How about a reunion here of sorts? Jeff Wilson. Could he be a trade target for the Niners? Under contract with Miami, but just because the Dolphins are so deep at that running back spot, he's on the trade block potentially and might not get a lot of playing time. There's a logjam at that position because you have Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, and Jalen Wright, who are speedsters. They are all 4.3 guys. So the Dolphins right now, under Mike McDaniel, former Niners offensive coordinator, have one of the fastest running back rooms in the history of the NFL. And while the Niners could bring back Jeff Wilson, they traded him away after trading for Christian McCaffrey. He's familiar with the scheme. So there's not that learning curve there that you would have to worry about. Back to the offensive line. A player who the Steelers like, but Pro Football Focus does not like, is Dan Moore. He has started in all 49 games in his career. He's been durable. He's been consistent as far as his availability, but as far as his production, he has struggled a little bit. He's allowed at least 7 sacks every season, but with a player like Dan Moore, you could buy low on the player, not have to give up or surrender as much as you would have to in a trade for Tristin Wirfs or Cam Robinson even, and you can tap in to the ability that Dan Moore has. There's a reason why Pittsburgh has started him that much, because they do trust him to a certain degree. And then trade target number 10 is Jonathan Allen, the defensive tackle with the Washington Commanders. He could be on his way out for a couple of reasons. Adam Peters, former Niners assistant general manager, taking over the front office for the Commanders. And Allen is the 3rd highest paid player on the Commanders right now. They could be looking to shed salary. What they did in free agency, they prioritized bringing in a lot of players who were on short-term deals so that they could have the free financial capital looking forward as they are a rebuilding team. And the writing could also be on the wall financially, but also roster-wise, because the Commanders in the second round did take Jerzon Johnny Newton in round 2, the defensive tackle out of Illinois. Jonathan Allen is a player who's coming off a down year, and he's expensive, so maybe the value is a little bit lower, but for a long time, he's been one of the better interior defensive linemen in the game, especially in rushing the quarterback. Not great against the run. That could be a turnoff for the Niners, but a team captain and a player who, as you can see, has had sack production. 9, 7.5, 5.5 sacks over the last 3 years. So that's 10 players right there the Niners could trade for post-June 1. Which player do you want San Francisco to deal for? It could be a player who we discussed or a different player here on the show.